Hello everyone, and yes, for all of those wondering, that right there is the corner of my bed, and that up there is a Louis Vuitton duffel bag, and no, I paid $0 for that because it was a gift and it's a used one. Welcome to a brand new episode of Gen Z Talks Money. By the title of this series, you may have some doubts of what is it exactly that Gen Z is, but stick around till the end of the video and you'll have a better understanding of what exactly it means. Gen Z is a demographic age group succeeding the millennials, all of those that were born in 1995 until 2015. You can figure out that by the name of this series, Gen Z Talks Money, it has something to do with Generation Z and money. And yes, I would like to say that myself is part of Generation Z, having my born year in 2000. Now, by the title of this video, it is now obvious that we're going to be discussing and talking about spending habits in Generation Z. And in some matter, I can actually account for that because it kind of describes me in some way. But that's a complete separate idea I have for a different video. But for now, I'm going to show you my first ever experience earning some type of money. In 2018, I got my first job, like my actual first job. And it wasn't just doing promotions so I could get free entry into the club. It was actually at a cashier in a service division of a car dealer. This job at the time was pretty hard for me because I was actually doing 30 hours a week. And yeah, for most they're gonna be like,
oh, 30 hours a week, it's not that much.
But at the time I was starting to go to college, and for me, handling that was pretty hard in between all the time. I remember my first check, $600. I was so excited. I felt I was a
millionaire.
I was just looking at those brand new Gucci shoes that I just wanted to buy so bad. And for the first time, I actually felt I had accomplished something on my own with my own time, my own merit. And I thought that this $600 is something that I can grow, deposit in some type of app, which at the moment I didn't have any idea. It's called a brokerage account. And I could have grown that money over time to a much larger amount, let's say $700 or $800. I will be making money from my money, and that was the simple incentive, I would say, that kept me from actually going ahead and spending the money in something I didn't have to. So I did a little bit of research, I went through the internet, I went through YouTube, and I ended up downloading this app called Robinhood. And if you don't know what Robinhood is, it's essentially a free commission brokerage account where you could just deposit money from your bank account and you can actively invest it in the stock market. But going back to the $600, yes, they could go ahead and buy me some Gucci shoes, but when you put it in perspective, it's actually not that much when it comes to living expenses or actually being an adult and being able to manage your own money and paying for things that you actually need to pay. Rent where I live, right next to campus, goes around $900 to $1,000, depending on the add-ons you have. For example, your parking spot or the different type of room you have. So those $600 actually make a difference on whether or not you're going to be able to pay the following month of rent. I say this story because unfortunately, a lot of Generation Z don't see the money that they make, if any, as money that could be used for their living expenses or maybe to even grow that money. See, the psychology works like this. Since most of the Generation Z people have their expenses paid, let's say by their parents, they don't have to worry at all for the things that they spend their money on. I took the deed of going ahead and asking a couple of my friends, and by the way, none of them are older than 22 years, so you can have an idea of what's going through their mind, what they're doing right now. All of them are students, and only one of them actually works. What is it, the purchase that they would say that they regret? The biggest purchase that they've made in their life with some type of money that they either acquired or worked for, and what was it that they did with it? One of my friends bought some $670 Gucci shoes with a summer job where he earned $1,000. Yes, he spent more than 50% of what he made in a summer job in a pair of shoes when he could have used that $1,000 for a way better cost for him. I have another friend that spent $600 going to horror nights when all of us, his friends, told him not to go because at the moment he was tied up in cash. He had to touch some of his savings to make the trip, and we told him, honestly, it's not worth it. Just don't spend the money on that and use the money for a better cost. He went ahead and he purchased a trip and he went. When he came back, he told us, I totally regret going to that trip. I also have two friends that spend their money, wait for it, on bottle service. Yes, bottle service. One of those friends spent $1,200 in one semester of college going to the club and ordering bottles. two friends that are in no income at the moment and they just live right now through the allowance that their parents gift them, and they spend their money on bottle service. I have another friend that spent $800 in one night. Later on, he went up to tell us like his dad, not even him, would spend $800 in one night for his birthday. This is to show you that the spending culture of Gen Z just spends the money for pleasure at a short term. And yes, while you can argue that a trip or an experience in a nightclub is something that you want to live and you want to pay full price for it, sometimes you're just not in the right space to do it. Let's just say, for instance, that money, you would have saved it or invested it. It would have grown by now. I also went ahead and tried to search on Google for the top 3 spending areas in Generation Z. I encountered myself with a study made by What I found was that they had surveyed over 1,000 people from Generation Z, and they had figured out that Gen Zers, as they call it, have it as a number 1 spending habit to spend money in food. That's the number 1 thing that they all love to spend. And I have nothing against that because, yeah, you gotta eat every single day. As long as you're not spending $100 each day on a steak or going to fancy restaurants, it's totally fine to just buy food. And most of us don't even have access to go and buy food. We need to order food from food delivery apps, and the fee can ramp up pretty quick. Not necessarily we need to buy food. We could just go to different supermarkets and make groceries. We can optimize our money and just buy cheap groceries for the moment until we actually ramp up some money to buy some
organic and very nice stuff to eat and be healthy.
But second, and this is what really intrigued me, is that Gen Zers spend most of their money in clothing, but not just in clothing from Old Navy or some cheap clothing. They want to have the trendiest clothes from the best designer in the world that they would say, yes, this t-shirt right here cost me $1,000. You don't have nothing to show for it. Everyone knows that most likely you didn't work for that. The third highest spending priority was for education. And at the moment while reading it, I was like, okay, that's nice. At least people from Generation Z want to get educated. But it wasn't exactly for the cost. More like they were worried about their debt and how they were gonna pay that down in the upcoming years. So you can argue that Generation Z is thinking about the future, but they're thinking about how they're gonna pay down their debt. See, student debt is a whole different topic that I wanna be addressing in a different video, and I don't wanna get into it right now. I recognize that the spending culture of the people my age right now, it's just not the best because we want to impress people. We want to flex, how we call it. And no one expects nothing from you. Just put that in perspective for a second. While you're less than, 23 years old, people don't expect things from you. They expect that you go to school, that you study, and you do your things right. So later on in life, you can actually buy things. In my opinion, I don't go ahead and correlate with that type of system. But regardless, there's no need to actually be buying expensive things right now. You don't actually need none of that. You could use regular shoes for the next couple of years. You could use a regular jacket. You could use regular jeans that are not that expensive right now because, as I said, no one expects nothing from you. So you don't need to impress no one right now. Maybe 10 years from now, where you have a decent paying job, well, yeah, maybe I'll expect that you have a nice car, a nice house, or something just nice for yourself that you could show for it. But now that your priority must be thinking ahead of what exactly you want to do for the rest of your life, why would you spend the money and time in things that you don't need? I have a couple ideas of videos that I want to be making out, and I wanted to start this series with having consciousness of the spending habits that Generation Z has so we can move on to different and more complex topics. In my Instagram page, I have a giveaway going on where I'm going to be giving out $250 to one of my first 1,000 subscribers. So just go to my Instagram and check out the details and rules to enter the giveaway. With that, I want to thank everyone that has been watching this video until this point. If you're in this point, it means you've reached the end of the video. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and leave a like for the YouTube algorithm. You're helping me massively with your support just watching this video. But with that being said, I want to thank everyone once again for watching the video, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of Gen Z Talks Money. Bye-bye.